Waking up was painful. His whole body hurt, and he didn't feel comfortable or attended by a nurse. He opened his eyes, one of them blackened, and found himself in a terrible place. He tried to stand, but something was stopping him from moving his arms and legs. He had a bunch of bodies over him and only had one free hand. "Help!" cried a woman who mustn't have been less than 30 feet from him. Her voice was faint, so she must be under a pile of bodies. Thomas recognized it. "Paula," he whispered. "Paula!" He heard no answer. Where the hell were they? In a chamber of horrors? That couldn't be. He saw the night starry sky and there were soldiers around. He was in a pile of bloodied bodies. There were more than 20, apparently regular people in there, just like him. All beaten up and none awake, except for him. "Listen, I'm here, help me," Thomas yelled with a shaky voice, waving his arm. His voice was coming out weak. He felt his head had some kind of wound and his face was covered in blood. At first he thought they were rescuing survivors, but then he saw the truth. The soldiers were throwing bodies from a truck into the pile of corpses. One of them pointed at him with his rifle. "One of them is still alive," the soldier said, elated. He turned around and pointed his gun at his face. Thomas only heard the shot and everything went bright. Paula heard the shot and opened her eyes. She tried to scream for help, and then she heard Thomas's voice calling her name in the distance, as if muffled by a wall. She was about to answer back when she heard his voice again and a shot that silenced it. When she opened her eyes, she saw nothing but darkness and began feeling asphyxiated. She had a body on top of her that stank of rot and feces. There was no doubt that person defecated the moment they died, and now she had to endure that penetrating smell. However, the fear of getting shot made her stay quiet as much as she could, despite she was slowly getting out of breath. She moved slowly, weaving upwards, trying to find a gap between the bodies so she could breathe. It was horrible, like being buried under tons of sand. With a superhuman effort, she managed to move her arm above her and then push with all the strength she could bear at the moment to slightly move the body that was all over her, which allowed her to breathe a little better. The bad thing was that the stench was even stronger now. If she survived this, she'll have nightmares about this night for the rest of her life. After a few minutes, she noticed her legs were going numb. The noises people were making out there grew further, and she thought it would be safer to get out of there. She pushed the body a little more, which must have been around 155 pounds, and slid his body up in any way she could. It was shocking to feel her foot on someone else's head to help her body go up. She really hoped that whoever that was already dead and not suffering down there. When her face rose over the bodies, she stopped to look around. The first thing she noticed was several soldiers surrounding the pile of bodies, which must have been 100 or more. Men, women, and children were all around her. There were 5 soldiers, and by the way they were joking about the situation, she knew they weren't there to rescue any survivors. They carried guns, and one of them was pouring gasoline over the bodies that were close to him. It was a pungent smell, and it wouldn't be long until they lighted up. She wanted to scream, get the dead bodies off her, get out of there and run for help. She wanted to kill those bastards one by one, but she didn't let her emotions take over and forced herself to wait for the right moment to make a move. They'll pay for what they've done, but she needed to be alive and tell the story for that to happen. One of them lit a match and tossed it over a body. The rest of the soldiers stepped aside and covered their noses with their sleeves. "Let's go. We have a lot to do," one of them said. "Thank God," whispered Paula, suddenly hit with hope. "I'll stay," said the soldier who had started the fire. "I want to see these pigs burn. I'm sure a few of them are still alive. I'll enjoy hearing their wails." Another soldier walked closer to him and pushed his shoulder. "Don't disrespect the dead. Let's go." "It's fine, man," the other replied as he kept watching the show. "The army is the law, and we are the army." "Let's go," commanded the other as he grabbed his sleeve and yanked him away from the place. The fire was all around Paula, eating its way through the corpses, and the smell and smoke were making it very hard for her to breathe. With so much fire, it was impossible to know if there was someone still watching, but if she couldn't see, neither could they. She moved as fast as she could, moving the body she had on her aside. For a moment, she thought of staying and look for Thomas, but she knew every second alive was a divine gift she had to save her life. The fire was coming closer, consuming the bodies, and she felt the infernal heat burning her hair. She thought that if she ran through the flames, she'd die incinerated, but if she didn't try, she'd die asphyxiated before the fire reduced her to ashes. She desperately ripped a shirt from one of the bodies. It was bloodied, which would give her a few seconds of fire resistance. She covered her head with it, leaving only a gap for her eyes, and ran opposite to where the soldiers had been. The bodies cracked under her feet, and the fire burnt her arms and legs. The pain was so strong she was about to lose her balance. She ran as if her legs had a mind of their own and went through the flames. Her clothes caught on fire and was burning on her skin. Once out of that hell, she threw away the shirt she had used to protect her face and hair, and then gathered all the strength she had left in her to tear some of the burning clothes off, put the fire on them out, and then proceed to do the same on the rest of her body. When she was finished doing so, she fell unconscious. She opened her eyes and saw herself in a hospital waiting area. She was surrounded by hurt and wounded people. Many of them lied unconscious. The ER staff was working tirelessly. She saw nurses hastily coming in and out, bringing more and more stretchers. There were dozens of wounded people. The waiting area was crowded, and soon there won't be space for more. "Please," she said in a pitiful tone to a nurse passing next to her and leaving a patient. "What happened? My boyfriend's dead and I need to know." "There's been a coup d'etat, miss," the man said with a sad expression on his face. "The army has decreed a curfew and those who didn't abide." "A curfew? What's that?" she asked, confused. "Every person they found in the streets after 9 p.m. was lynched," the young man explained. "They fear an uprising." "Why?" she said, sobbing, starting to understand those criminals would never get to justice. The young man shrugged and examined her wounds. "Don't worry, you'll be treated soon. You've been lucky," he said. "Most people here won't live to tell the story, but you don't seem in bad shape. When will I be treated?" "As soon as one of the doctors can see you." He had a hand on her shoulder and, with a sad smile, he kept going his way. Paula closed her eyes and finally started processing what was happening. A coup had destroyed her life forever, and she was lucky? For a moment, she wished she hadn't survived, but then her heart clung to life as she clenched her fists. She would live. She'd do that for Thomas. One day, those bastards would pay for their crimes, and she'd see it happening with her own eyes. After making that decision, she stopped thinking, shocked by the only thing she could hear, the laments of those who would soon be dead.